Shen Shu still had feelings for Yu Songnian, so when they met again years later, Shen Shu asked if he wanted to marry him. 不办快逃. Shen Shu just finished texting his driver. As he was about to head outside, he glanced over casually. His gaze locked onto someone ahead and to the side. A man stood there. His back was turned. Casual for a party like this. The man with his back turned shifted slightly. Half his face came into view. Everything around him seemed to go quiet. Shen Shu remembered the first time he met Yu Songnian. He'd seen him first then too. Also just half his face. He looked more mature now. Taller. Shoulders maybe broader. Or maybe thinner. Shen Shu kept his expression neutral. His eyes traced Yu Songnian's features until his phone buzzed. The driver was calling, asking when to pick him up. Shen Shu's throat moved. He hesitated, then told the driver to come later. He hung up. He picked up his glass and walked toward Yu Songnian. On the way, he heard people gossiping about Yu Songnian. Nothing nice. They were looking down on Yu Songnian. Shen Shu didn't like that kind of contempt. Yu Songnian turned around. Before Shen Shu could say anything, Shen Shu looked at Yu Songnian calmly and directly. He didn't speak first. He was just thinking about how to introduce himself, figuring Yu Songnian probably didn't remember him. Surprisingly, Yu Songnian smiled at him. He reached out and waved hello. Shen Shu stared at Yu Songnian's smile, a bit dazed. When Shen Shu didn't respond, he figured Shen Shu didn't want to acknowledge him. His reputation was in ruins now. At this party, he'd already heard plenty of gossip. It made sense Shen Shu wouldn't want to talk to him. Yu Songnian's mind wandered until he heard what Shen Shu said next. He looked up at him, shocked. He asked Shen Shu to repeat what he just said. Shen Shu looked at Yu Songnian quietly. He wasn't upset. He just repeated the proposal. Will you marry me? Yu Songnian watched Shen Shu quietly, trying to figure out if this was a real proposal or if he was messing with him. When he saw the glass in Shen Shu's hand, he guessed that was what made Shen Shu propose on impulse. He reached out and took the glass from Shen Shu's hand. Yu Songnian handed Shen Shu's drink to a server. Shen Shu lifted his wrist to check the time, checking how much longer they could talk. The next second, Yu Songnian stepped forward. He put his arm around Shen Shu's waist. He pulled him aside. Kids chasing each other with cake ran past them, laughing. He was a bit shorter than Yu Songnian. In this position, his nose naturally pressed against Yu Songnian's neck. Yu Songnian wasn't wearing cologne. No smell of smoke or clean. Just his own scent. This interruption threw off Shen Shu's rhythm. Yu Songnian spoke first, turning him down. He told Shen Shu, you should marry someone you like. It's for the rest of your life. Well, Shen Shu and Yu Songnian hadn't seen each other in years. No contact at all. What kind of foundation for marriage was that? That's what he thought. But he kept trying to convince Yu Songnian. He said they could do a business marriage. Yu Songnian's eyes dimmed. His smile faded. He told Shen Shu there was no need. Shen Shu clenched his fists. He asked Yu Songnian if he had someone. When Yu Songnian said no, Shen Shu asked him if he didn't have anyone. Then what was the problem? His attitude almost made Yu Songnian helpless. He wanted to laugh at how absurd. Maybe sense in. Yu Songnian was about to say something he didn't want to hear. Shen Shu treated it like a business deal. He said if he was really worried, they could sign a contract with a set term, part ways amicably when the time came. Seeing Shen Shu treat this like a transaction, Yu Songnian's last trace of a smile disappeared. Shen Shu was looking at his face. He'd been looking since they met again. Yu Songnian now. His hair was a bit longer. His features hadn't changed much, just looked more tired. Probably because of his family mess. Or maybe at a party like tonight. Too many people had been cruel. Shu stared, lost in thought, until he heard Yu Songnian ask, why me? Shen Shu told Yu Songnian like he was coaxing a child. No one else is as good a fit as. Maybe worried Yu Songnian would refuse. He made a final concession. He said if he met someone he liked, they could end things right away. Yu Songnian finally answered. He didn't say yes. He didn't say no. Just said he'd think about it. Shen Shu relaxed a bit. Not getting an immediate no meant there was still hope. He pulled out a business card and gave it to Yu Songnian. Told him to contact him once he decided. Yu Songnian found his all-business attitude amusing. He nodded and said okay. When Shen Shu turned to leave, Yu Songnian stopped him. He leaned down slightly, moved closer to Shen Shu. This crossed the usual social boundaries. It was more intimate. He looked at Shen Shu with those attractive eyes, asked if there wasn't a more personal reason he chose him. Meeting the person he'd crushed on for years, he'd taken the initiative to propose marriage. Yu Songnian looked at Shen Shu with those attractive eyes, asked if choosing to marry him didn't have a more personal reason. Shen Shu met his gaze. Their eyes locked. Neither looked away. Shen Shu said, you're good looking. Does that count? Yu Songnian paused. He straightened up, stepping back from the intimate distance. Not sure whether to laugh or cry. Said he wouldn't pressure him anymore. Told him if he had things to do, he should go. Shen Shu said goodbye and turned to leave. Yu Songnian watched Shen Shu's retreating figure. Didn't want to look away. Once Shen Shu turned around, he lifted his hand, used the back of it to cover half his face. His whole face was burning. Of everything he'd said, only the last part wasn't a lie. Once home, Shan Shu started preparing a place for him and Yu Songnian. While thinking about what to include, he got a call from Lin Jisheng. As soon as the call connected, Lin Jisheng yelled, asking if he'd lost his mind. Said word got out about him proposing to Yu Songnian at the party everyone was talking about. Over the years, Lin Jisheng was the only one who'd figured out Shan Shu's feelings. He asked Shan Shu if he was trying to use his looks to get to Shu Bingzhang. Shu Bingzhang was Yu Songnian's father. Yu Songnian took his mother's name. Shu Bingzhang had married into the Yu family back then. Now he'd used the Yu family to rise up. He'd climbed all the way to councilman. Shan Shu explained to Lin Shen he wasn't using his looks. On the contrary, Yu Songnian would be better suited to using his. As soon as he finished, the call ended. Lin Zhisheng used action to express he was done trying to talk sense into Shan Shu. Shan Shu ignored it, put down his phone, and kept working. His phone buzzed again. He thought it was Lin Zhisheng, but a new message popped up on WeChat. A WeChat labeled Yu Songnian had sent him a message. Their last conversation was 6 years ago. Their chat history was only a few lines. The intro, when they added each other. Only today did it finally update. Yu Songnian sent a message, asking if he'd gotten home. Shan Shu replied with a yeah. Yu Songnian sent a smiling rabbit emoji, thinking about how Lin Jisheng always said he was like an old man, totally out of touch. Shan Shu opened the stickers tab, downloaded a Bangxing Wanggou, then switched back to the chat, told Yu Songnian his offer still stood, to let him know as soon as he thought it over. After sending that, Shan Shu felt his words seemed a bit too eager. He added another message, frustrated. Even if you say no, it's fine. Don't feel pressured. Yu Songnian replied that before he decided. He wanted to try dating him first. Shan Shu stared at the word dating, wondered if Yu Songnian had made a typo. Yu Songnian sent him a link to a play. Asked if he was interested in going to see it together this weekend. That's when Shan Shu realized Yu Songnian really wanted to date him. Yu Songnian set a time with him, then gave him an address. The address wasn't at the Yu house. It was a commercial apartment near a university. Shan Shu knew this so clearly, because that university was where he'd gone to school. But Shan Shu didn't ask. Even though being with Yu Songnian might mean dealing with his family's mess, that didn't make Shan Shu back down. He still really wanted to marry Yu Songnian. Like taking in a dirty little dog. He'd clean it up. Make it pretty again, like before. Because this was the Yu Songnian he wanted so bad, but couldn't have. 6 years ago, when Yu Songnian and Shen Yue first stepped into this house, Shen Shu had already heard about Yu Songnian. Shen Yuan was Shen Shu's half-brother, the illegitimate son the Shen family brought back. That day he'd just gotten back from tutoring. Walking through the front hall in slippers, he heard laughter. He looked toward the sound, saw Shen Yuan and another guy. The Shen house had great lighting. Sunlight danced on Yu Songnian's hair and lips, lit up his nose and lashes all warm. When Yu Songnian learned this was Shen Yuan's brother, he stood up and called out a greeting. Shen Shu stood there and didn't respond. He thought with how forward Yu Songnian was, with looks like that, he'd probably never been ignored before. He didn't mind being the first. Yu Songnian didn't seem bothered by Shen Shu ignoring him. He smiled and asked, "You're really good looking. Can I use you as a model?" Shen Shu never imagined that the first time Yu Songnian saw him, he'd dare say something like that. No one dared tell him to his face he was good looking. They only said he looked cold, unapproachable. Before he could react, Shen Yuan stepped forward, got in front of Yu Songnian, said he was talking nonsense. Shen Shu's brow furrowed deeper. He didn't say a word, turned and went upstairs. On the way, he heard Shen Yuan tell Yu Songnian that no matter how desperate he was for a model, he shouldn't pick Shen Shu. His voice was full of disgust. Yu Songnian's voice was low. Shen Shu couldn't hear what he said to Shen Yuan. He wasn't in the mood to know. He thought to himself, Yu Songnian not only had bad taste, he was also superficial. Their first meeting wasn't great. He had no way of knowing what Yu Songnian looked like painting other people, or if he was any good. Shen Shu pulled himself from the memory. He picked up his phone, started picking out what to wear on the date. That weekend, Shen Shu worried about traffic, so he left early. But the roads were clear. When he arrived, Shen Shu was a full 2 hours early. Shen Shu parked on the side of the road, a bit annoyed with himself. But he didn't rush Yu Songnian to come down. He figured Yu Songnian probably wasn't ready yet. So, he pulled out his type